Welcome to the Equipped Agronomy Podcast, where we bridge the gap between seeding equipment and agronomy. Presented to you by Borgo Industries. My name is Curtis DeGore, work as an agronomist here. And it is my pleasure today to introduce a new person to the Borgo team, another agronomist. We're expanding. Mr. Brodie Welsh is joining us. Brodie, welcome.
Thanks, Curtis. Happy to be here. How's the saying go? Long-time listener, first-time caller? I guess in this case, I'm a first-time participant. So thank you very much for having me.
It's all on you now, man. I'm actually just going to sit back and relax and let you take over this here podcast. So, no, today we're going to we'll have you introduce yourself, maybe a little bit of a background here, and maybe explain why we're expanding. Not necessarily you. We'll chat about why we're expanding the agronomy team, and we're going to lay out what we got plans for this upcoming season in 2026 will be the game plan for today. Sounds good?
Sounds great. Yeah.
Okay, Brodie. Many of the listeners probably know who you are, but for those who don't, why don't you give a quick background on yourself? What were you doing before? What are you up to now?
Sounds good. Yeah, for sure. So I come to Borgo from the seed and chemical world. I was working with Corteva Agriscience for a number of years, and I wore a few different hats prior to that. And switching over to the equipment side. So I mean, there's as I'm learning, there's a lot of learning to do, back-to-back learnings there. So, yeah.
Actually, you know what? That's going to be the perfect example of where this podcast hopefully comes into play for many people where, again, we have the agronomy background, but how does that play into the equipment? So this is going to be great for you to learn and then maybe share that experiences as we go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to all those aspects for sure.
And the chem guys. So if guys got questions about any chemistry or anything, I guess you're the one that they're going to be knocking the door on.
Yeah. I still got a lot of good contacts. So if those contacts phones start ringing, I'm getting questions.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I don't know, but let me get back to you. Again, welcome on board. This is going to be good. Canola. What do we got going on in canola? A lot of times in the past, we've done, a lot of different trials with that. So we'll take a quarter of canola and a quarter of wheat, and we'll do our 30-foot by 420-foot trials. So we're going to do that again this year. Replicated 3 times out in the field. And the one thing we're going to look at this year to continue on with is our Trimax trial. So we've got this long-term trial that we've got against, a single knife or a dual knife with banders, aka the Trimax system. So we're going to play around with that this year again, but we're going to play a few different things with it. We're going to bring in seed on its own, starter sideband, phosphorus, and then nitrogen out in the middle is typically our default position, right? And that's what we're going to be running on the farm too, is that setup. But we're going to add in maybe bringing some nitrogen in closer to the sideband. We've played with that with actually not real great results or differences on that one, I should say. And then we're also going to be playing with, and this was inspired by an article, I guess, out from, I think it was a Western producer, right? Where we've topped out. It's saying that we've topped out on our yields on average in general in our canola because we're really just not putting enough. So on the farm, what are we up to? 140 pounds of actual N, shooting for about, 60 bushel crop, right? Which would be great. Well, what happens if we wanted 70 bushel? What happens if we wanted 80 bushel? Are we putting enough down? So we're going to bring a trial with that 170 pounds of N with corresponding starter. So we're going to up our phosphorus as well. 170, 200 pounds of N as well. And we're going to see what happens. We're going to push this.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. And, when you think on nitrogen use efficiencies and things like that is, are we maybe at the top of that curve? Are we going to find it in this trial, right? So, yeah, interesting one. I'm curious to see the results on that one.
We've talked about that nitrogen use efficiency before, and I think when it came to wheat, and we didn't improve our yield in wheat, and it was like our nitrogen use efficiency went down. So the point of that being is that maybe we can increase our yield slightly, but maybe we're not utilizing that nitrogen very well either, which is your return on input won't be near as good then, right? So that's a great point to bring up.
Yeah, especially for the folks looking at that fertilizer spring price.
Yes.
It'd be interesting to factor in those numbers as well.
Yes. So yeah, we're gonna push it to see what happens. And then moving on from nitrogen, we're gonna do some split phosphorus as well. So we've always done that phos in the sideband. Now we're playing around with what happens if we split phos between the sideband and the mid-row. We saw a little bit of success with that last year. But then we're also going to bring in, maybe we should put some phos in the seed row versus sideband, seed row, mid-row in a Trimax configuration. So we're just playing. We're going to play with a few more things that we haven't in the past. We're traditional, but then what we haven't done. So that'll be neat to see. And of course, we're going to reduce our seeding rate with the Trimax as well, because we just find that we can do that. I mean, at least in the past with seed on its own, that was a way to really utilize that system, right? Let's bring down our seed rate. We're not killing as many seeds because it's a safe way to do it, but yet we're getting the yields out of it. So we're going to push it that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, traveling around with you late this winter since I've started with Borgo, when you present those findings on some of those site years with your low seeding rates, it sure grabs people's attention.
Well, there's a big difference out there visually. And also when you say, hey, I put down less and I got more, that also sometimes grabs guys' attention. So yeah, leading into our seeding rate trial in general, what we've done in the past over the last 6 years or so, we've got our low, like down to a pound and a half, and then, that 2.5 pounds and then 5 pound seeding rate. So 10 seeds per foot, 5 seeds, and then down to 2.5 seeds per square foot. And so, yeah, really cutting lower than most guys. And you're right, that is a bit of an interesting one. So we're going to keep that one going as well. Okay, something new. Now we got you on. You want to play with brand new equipment. So we had to get you a brand new drill. I think that was in your contract from what I was told. Anyway,
maybe in the fine print.
In the fine print. We got you this is a 4420 drill. So this is 4420. It's a deep knife drill. Not common, I would say, in general in Western Canada, Northern Great Plains in general, more common in South Africa, Australia. They have a couple of reasons that they do this, but essentially it's a dual knife inline. And when I say inline, like the fertilizer goes down and the seed goes on top of it, not in the trench, but there's a little bit of soil in between. But that deep knife is going deep, right? Traditionally, what are we? Maybe 3 inches, 2 to 3 inches on our fertilizer there. Well, this one is designed to go deeper, 4, maybe 5 inches. And then the seed comes on top. So we've kind of touched on this before in another podcast, but the goal for doing this in other regions may not be the same reason that we're going to try it here. In other areas, they have like non-wetting soil, or they have rhizoctonia and they're trying to like move it out of the way. There's a reason why they're going that deep. For us, I think we're going to look at it more as a way to put nutrients down deeper in the soil profile. We've got this whole stratification of nutrients. So if that's okay with you, or if you're able to accept that as in your contract.
Yeah, approved.
Okay, excellent.
I think the other thing to make note of there is just because that deep fertilizer knife is going, I think you're going to target 4 inches is what I believe you're looking at.
We're looking at, yeah. We've got the ability to adjust where that seed is, right? So you should still get some fairly nice separation between your seed and your fertilizer. So, but yeah, things we're all gonna play with, and St. Brew's rocks may have a little bit to say about dragging something through 4 inches in the ground, but we do have a new to us rock picker coming, yes. And we are going to play with that depth of the front fertilizer knife. That's on the docket too, is kind of what's standard-ish, and then let's go deeper, right? Let's push it. And then and then some phosphorus placement with that. Do we put it all down that band, or do we have to split the phos between the seed and that deep band? So yeah, that's what we've got going on. For the most part, on call them the small plot trials. I mean, that 4420 is actually a 60-footer drill, so we'll get that in there. But again, replicated 3 times and then side by side. A couple things on canola in the farm. We obviously still have this 2,000-acre farm we got to deal with here. We're going to play with maybe a couple things that aren't necessarily equipment related, but more just out of curiosity. One of those, a fungicide trial. And just looking at, can we control that black leg up front? And so we're going to play with that a little bit. Back to your chem roots.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as someone who's sold some black leg fungicide in the past, so I'll be curious to see, one, if there is a result after application, and if there is a result, what's kind of the incidence and severity we're looking at in some of these fields that have been in, a 2-year rotation for a number of years. So yeah, that one certainly has my attention as well.
What happens if it doesn't work, Brodie?
Conditions weren't conducive, Curtis.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, we'll give it a good test. That's what we do here. We're just gonna throw it out there and see what it is, and the results will speak for themselves. So that'll be good to see. Okay, we're gonna switch up to wheat. What are we doing in wheat? Trimax again. A lot of the same style of treatments are going to be out there, but now in wheat, and again we're playing with single knife versus sideband. We've had that one going on for, this will be 10 years actually, comparing the different styles of openers against each other. And then the traditional way is seed on its own, starter in the sideband, and then the MRB has the nitrogen in the Trimax. But we're going to play with that split again between phosphorus in the seed row and in the sideband and in the mid row and different combinations of that. Because I would say in general, Trimax with wheat, we haven't been seeing really a big pop in, either reduced mortality or yield, right? So it's like, where is there any benefits in cereals? So we're going to try a couple different combinations to push it.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to hone in on that, maximizing the Trimax in that cereal. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then splitting the nitrogen in there as well. We played with that before with, again, I really thought bringing some N in the sideband with some starter would have really given it a little bit more of a pop, but didn't really notice that, at least last year. So yeah, we'll try it again this year. Like you said, every year's a little different. We'll see if the conditions are conducive to that treatment this year. This is a new one. Okay, starter fertilizer trial. We've done different types of fertilizers before. We've played around with, MAP 1152 versus, an S15, a Top Phos, Synchro, which has got crystal green in there. We're going to try another one this year. We're going to control it against, or have a control. We're going to have it against 1152 MAP. And one of the things with this one, okay, we can reduce our rates. So it's a more pricey fertilizer, so they kind of match the price, but the amount of nutrients is down. It still says it's got the same pop-up, right? The same is more available. So we're gonna try it. We're gonna push it, and then we're gonna also decrease the rate with MAP as well, because I think sometimes some of these comparisons aren't showing the whole story in there too. Yep, that's gonna be the plan on that one. What else? We got a copper trial in wheat. We always do put down granular copper. We know we're low here in St. Bruce, Saskatchewan, gray wooded soil. We're low in copper. We have been putting it with our wheat, but this year where the trials are going is a piece that's very low. And so if it doesn't show a response there, again, maybe the conditions weren't right, Brodie.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to that one though, because those copper soil test results, are coming back, basically none.
Yeah, very, very low.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Red. Uh-oh.
So we get that down in there, placed in this seed row.
Yeah, this one's going in the seed row.
Yep. So then, interesting to see, is that it's not very mobile in the soil, so it should be accessible. It's right beside the seed.
Yeah, maybe we're not playing with the right type. There's a couple different ways. I'm sure people might have some other opinions on, maybe it should be foliar or. But anyway, this is a granular. It's going down in with the seed. That's what's happening with that one. And then we have our 4420 year drill here again. We had to use it in the wheat as well, right? And so same thing again. We're going to drop that fert knife down and we're going to play with different depths. We're going to play with phosphorus in the band or in the seed row in comparison. And I should have said too, even with the canola, we are comparing this to a regular dual knife opener, one that's more common in Western Canada, but this one maybe is going to show us some differences in stratification of nutrients. Can we get it down deeper?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a really nice study on stratification of phosphorus in particular, right? Over the last number of years, and this would be another way to just take a look at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely really excited to see that. Typically wheat being more tolerant to phos in the seed row. Do we see that benefit to splitting it up, right? You've talked about dual feeding sites before.
Yeah.
And as that moisture level drops during the summer, so do our roots. So
yeah. We'll play with it. We will get back to that deep phos you spoke of there. But the seeding rate, we're going to add a seeding rate trial in here. We've done that in the past with wheat. Saw some cool things, not necessarily on yield, but on lodging. And we're going to do it again this year just because it's kind of neat. Right. And there's been a little bit more chatter about, hey, maybe we've pushed our cereals high, in order to, get one main stem on the fungicide, but maybe we're hurting ourselves in other ways. I've seen a couple different results in barley and guys are looking at maybe really reducing their seeding rate in barley. We're not going to deal with that itchy stuff this year anyway, but we're going to play with it in wheat. Again, so we've got that trial got on the go here as well.
Yeah, that one's proved to be quite a visual trial in the past. You know, you've got some great photos from the combine of a lodged, higher seeding rate. Definitely an interesting one. You drive by fields when you're going down the road and you see some overlap areas and instantly you think too much nitrogen.
Yeah.
But hey, Curtis has pushed the nitrogen on a lot of these trials.
Yeah, nitrogen's all the same, or if, like you said, pushed. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it hasn't gone down, but all of a sudden you double up your seeding rate. And now you've got a thick, heavy crop. So
Yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit of eye-opening or, hey, wait a minute. When we were playing with that before, different rates, and we were playing with a PGR, plant growth regulator in wheat, but then at the end of the day, it's like, well, hey, we can put down less and get less lodging. That would be good too.
And your yields weren't impacted.
Yeah, the yields stayed pretty similar. So put down less, go faster in the combine. Hopefully pick up less rocks.
We got a roller for that, Curtis.
Yes. We do have a couple things now that we're going to do. The roller. We have so many rocks in St. Brew, Brodie. It's going to be, you're just going to be so amazed. The best is at night if we're tilling up anything. Yeah, it's just a light show out there. It's amazing. Okay, deep phos. You mentioned we've had the deep phos trials, and this one was on the stratification of phosphorus, where we've seen it in canola, drier years, it seems like. Well, no, for sure in drier years, but they've seen the land on the canola. So whether or not it was because of the dry year or because canola, in either case, where putting down that phos deeper in a one-time application back in 2023, it still showed up last year in a higher yield in canola in those strips. So this year, we're going to actually put faba beans out there, and we're going to see if that deep phosphorus has any impact on the faba bean crop. So yes, there was more phosphorus and deeper. So together, I guess we'll see if there's any impact.
Yeah, I mean, typically when you think of faba beans, we've always been told, or it's been known, that they're a good scavenger for phosphorus, right? So, hey, what if that phosphorus is deeper in the profile?
If it dries out?
Yep.
I mean, we've got quite a bit of moisture out there at the moment, but you never know later on in the season. It still needs phos all throughout that season. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And faba beans do use a lot of phosphorus. They're a scavenger, you're right, but they do just need a lot.
Yeah. And you think about the time that they flower, it's an extended period of time later in the season, typically maybe in some drier soil conditions. So, I think there's a lot of interesting aspects to that trial.
The other one with faba beans out in that field, we've got our third year of our soil enhancement trial. So that one, playing around with not necessarily a different type of fertilizer, but humic acid, or we've talked about it before, where we're playing around with worm castings, and then H-start. So we've got a couple things with that, and we're just going to see how it reacts. Those products react with faba beans. We've done it with canola and wheat so far, with some mixed results in there. So we'll see if faba bean shows up. Yeah, that's kind of a lot of our, call it small plot, 30 by 420. But we do have a lot of other things kind of on the go out on the farm here. We are playing around with a little bit of some stubble height trials. So we've been out there droning it as the snow's been melting, and now it came back and then it's melting again. So we'll maybe get a couple more pictures out there.
It'd be incredible to get 3 site years of data in one spring, but we're well on our way.
Yes, well on our way on that one. Yeah, we'll take it a positive out of it. Yeah, we get more site years. That one really looking at, if we trap more snow in taller stubble and then how it melts. Does the taller straw actually help to melt it faster, or did it capture more snow and then the lower stubble is going to melt quicker? And then how does the machine, how do our openers go through it, right? So we've done it in wheat and canola already. And so now we're, I guess in going into canola stubble, we're putting wheat back in there. And so we'll...
Yeah, and we're not talking stripper header height. Where'd you cut that last fall?
18 inches or so. Yeah. And then down to about, we're trying to get 6 or so, which is pretty low in canola stubble.
Yeah.
So quite a difference on that one.
A lot of mog going through the combine, but
it was interesting to see where the shorter stubble, so there's more in the swath, how much slower the combine went there, because it just has to chew through it, right? So that's another aspect of the whole stubble height talk.
Burned a little more diesel.
Yeah, that's right. So it better yield more, I guess, if we're gonna go the other way. If we're gonna keep it tall, but yet can your openers get through? That's the trade-off. So yeah, playing with that. Other crops we got on the go. We got some lentils, not up here, St. Brew, but down in Odessa, Saskatchewan, Canada. Not to be confused with any other Odessas. This is Odessa Sask. We've got some lentils being grown down there. We're playing with some seeding rates in that one, and some fertilizer placement as well, right? do we put phosphorus in the seed row? Do we put it out in the mid row? Do we do a split? What's going to be the best for it? And so we've got that on the go in Odessa. And we're also adding in a seeding rate trial in canola in Odessa as well, just to get a couple of different areas, right? We talk about seeding rate in canola up here and how it adjusts your maturity. Well, up here, up in the northern part of Saskatchewan, call it northern growing area, how does that affect the crop versus down a little bit more south, right? Where it's maybe a little bit longer growing season. Does that affect it? Don't know.
And some different stressors, right? Typically maybe more heat.
Yep.
More wind.
More
potentially.
wind, there might be, yeah. Maybe less rocks, but that's okay.
Less rocks, but obviously interesting to see, and a bit of a new crop for the agronomy team to play with.
And there's going to be a field day down there actually too. June 25th, 2026. We're going to have a field day. So yeah, if anyone's interested in that one, check that one out. Other trials called demos. We're chatting about Ag in Motion. We're going to be at Ag in Motion in there as well. We'll get some demo strips. Those aren't really trials. That land kind of gets beat up throughout the years. And so not real great for actual trials, but there are some decent areas for demos. And just playing around with nitrogen, where the nitrogen's going, playing around with some seeding rate with that as well in canola. So if you're at Ag in Motion, yeah, come out, check it out. We've got a couple demos running out there.
Absolutely. It's well set up. Very, a couple of your treatments last year had some nice visual differences, right? Even on some lighter soil. So, certainly worth a look.
Yeah. And people can come and shake the hand of Brodie Welsh. That's when you can really meet a guy, measure him up a little bit there, see if he's going to be the one to give you the good information that you need. So spoiler alert, he will be.
Yeah, I'll be there for sure. Yeah.
All right. What else we got? Jeez, is that enough? Do you need some more?
Rolling it all? Are we leaving any strips with the canola, Curtis? What do we think?
The whole goal of this roller is because we have all these beautiful combine buster rocks that just are impossible to pick them all. So the thought was to roll everything in case we got a down year, lodging or whatever. We got to go get some crop that's lower. I just hate eating rocks. So we figured this might be a good insurance to roll everything. Yeah, we'll roll in canola. We'll have to take a look. That'll be a trial in itself, but play with that. Roll everything. Anything else, Brodie?
No, I think that about exhausts my knowledge for today.
Yeah, well, don't worry. We'll fill that right back up here this year for sure. Yeah, and then I hope everybody out there has a great season. Lots of people have started. Some people have already done seeding, but get the crop up and going. And I hope everyone stays safe. And if there is any questions throughout the year, call into agronomy or find one of us. And appreciate you tuning in. And we'll chat with you at the end of the season, see how it all went.
Awesome. Thanks, Curtis.
All right, thanks, Brodie. We'll get out there and get growing.